love you.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Welcome to Tea Time with Sweetapple. I'm Sweetapple, and today is album release day. I'm so excited. So to celebrate, we are busting open a fresh brick of Fucha. Almost feels wrong. I always kind of hate breaking open a fresh brick. You know, it's so nice, clean looking, but it's like at some point you gotta drink the tea, not just look at it, huh? Let's see if I can open this carefully. Try to preserve the packaging as much as possible. Yeah, it is tea time. It's also album time. I'm not necessarily planning to play the album on this stream, but I'll probably talk a lot about it because at long last, it has arrived. Took 9 months. I feel like I'm giving birth to a baby. I'm really fighting hard to preserve this packaging, but I don't think it wants to be saved. Come on. Ooh, here we go. Getting somewhere. Okay. I had a smaller brick that was a little bit more cooperative on this one. If I can create a little bit of relief here. Flip this out.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
There we go. There we go. That was a beast. Had to tear up the side of the packaging a little bit, which is kind of disappointing, but it's okay. That's okay. It'll be alright. Probably. My phone has been blowing up all morning. Been a little tough to keep up with, but it's a good problem to have, I suppose. Alright. Yeesh. Sorry about that. I don't know what I was thinking there. Just gonna open this up all the way. Stop it. It's harder than it needs to be. Let's see. All right. Probably what I should have done from the beginning.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
This is not very tightly compressed. Woo, there we go. Look at that. Whole brick of tea. made a mess. Alright, let's get this bad boy measured out. That's too much. Yeah, this is fairly lightly compressed. As you can see, it just kind of comes apart pretty easy. My fingers. Still a bit too much. I guess I was overzealous with my chunkage. 8.4, that's good enough. That would probably have fallen on all my teaware if I stood that up like that.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
I'm struggling today. But good as new. Not really, but good. All right. Now, without further ado, let's start making some tea, huh? Get all these little dregs into the hole here. What's good, Sammy? Uh-oh. Your Wi-Fi or my Wi-Fi? Is the stream laggy? Is that on me? Let me check real quick. Pull this up on my phone. Okay, my stream looks smooth on my end. Oh yeah, that's rough. I actually we had a bunch of problems with the Wi-Fi last month in my area. There was just these random outages for like a week on end. It was just terrible. And then one day they were just like, "Oh yeah, we're turning the Wi-Fi off to work on some outages." So I felt like I got sent back to the Stone Age. And then that was the same day that half the electrical outlets in my apartment decided to blow up. So that was fun, but you know, shit happens. So hopefully yours gets fixed soon, because it's no fun not having stable Wi-Fi. Big old chunk of food chaw right there.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Let's see. Oh yeah, I released an album today, which is really exciting. I'm stoked. People seem to really like it. It's always really fun when you release a big project like this. You get to see, you know, what songs are people's favorites, um, how people interpret the body of work as a whole or as individual singles, etc. Oh, interesting. Is it a holiday or more of a government thing, like trying to preserve resources? That's really interesting. Huh. So what do you do then? Just kind of chill out, drink tea, read a book. Ah, okay. I see. So there's probably lots to do then. People probably plan around that quite a bit. Cool. What's the holiday called? I haven't actually heard of this. That's really neat. This is gonna be good tea. I can tell just from the smell of the dry leaf. But yeah, what's the name of that holiday? Nayepi. I'm not. I hope I got that pronunciation at least a little close. I'm definitely gonna look into that. I like to learn about different cultures. So I'm gonna pull up a tab to read about that later.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
A day of silence, fasting, and meditation for the Balinese. Ooh, that's sweet though. I bet you the stars look amazing. I remember when I lived in Seattle, you could basically never see the stars because there's so much light pollution. And where I'm at now in California, we're not quite in the city, so you definitely get a better view, but nothing ever beats just being out in the middle of nowhere where there's no lights, not nearly as much pollution, and you could just, bam, you see the whole galaxy just right there. Yeah, please do. I'd love to see that. Oop, I'm not gonna pour this fresh tea into water and dilute it. That would be sad. Hmm? I just woke up like an hour ago, maybe. And my phone's already on 50%. When I say my phone has been blowing up, I'm not exaggerating. But that's, a good thing. That's the marketing strategy. I got all my collaborators and everybody's posting and cross tagging, cross posting, tagging each other and whatnot. So ever since I woke up this morning, my phone's just but very much a good problem to have. Means the rollout is going well. People seem to really be enjoying the album, which is incredibly encouraging as well. It's my baby. I spent 9 months working on that thing. And then every time someone adds one of my tracks to their Instagram story, I'm sharing it to my Instagram. So I have been abusing my poor phone, but hey, it's chill. Let's see, like a pros. Yeah.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
Mm, mm, that's really tasty. When I read the reviews on this and people said it has sort of like a apricot flavor, and there's definitely a fruity flavor going on here, so they did not lie. It's got some camphor as well. You taught me what that is. um but yeah, definitely like apricot. It's not I have another food brick that I'm almost done with, honestly. I've almost drank all of it. That's also from Mojun, and this is not nearly as earthy, but it's very delicious. I actually think I like this one better. Mm, wow. Holy smokes. I'm falling in love with Fucha all over again. Perfect. I'll check my phone. I see. I see. Here we go. Yo, what? That is so beautiful. Holy. Wow. That's gorgeous. I mean, I think I live somewhere pretty, but you live somewhere beautiful, like genuinely just stunningly gorgeous. That's amazing. I'm a little jealous. This album, I'm I'm really just I feel good that it's finally done. Yeah, it is 2.0. I called it that because it feels like, I was doing this project by myself for a long time and just kind of not really satisfied with what I was doing on my own. I was kind of just taking shots and not really capturing the full artistic vision that I had for projects. And then over the last 9 months, basically, I just started building this amazing community and started refining my sound and my workflow and the team that I have that works with me on projects. And it feels like a 2.0, like Sweetapple 2.0 is here. So I called it that. Because, yeah, it feels like the dawning of a new era for me. And it's crazy. We fully swapped out two verses like 2 weeks ago, I think. Like the album was up for distribution, and then somebody demonstrated that they did not have the moral character of somebody I wanted to associate with, we'll say. So we had to cut their verse and record a new verse with a different feature, and then it also kind of affected the context of another verse, so we had to re-record a different verse later in the album. uh and all within a week had to do those two: record, remix, remaster, and then redistribute the album. Otherwise we wouldn't have made today's release. So we were really cutting it close. But I'm really happy with how everything turned out. And yeah, it's cool. Just I've been getting a lot of messages, people saying like, "Oh, this is my favorite song." And like, "Yo, this feels like an odyssey. I feel like I went on a journey. I totally get what you're going for," which is exciting because the opening track, Dogfight, kind of sets the backdrop, which is, you're living in capitalism. You're living in the lap of white supremacy, being the US, and reaping the benefits of that, but also seeing your life actively devalued, actively uh, stripped of purpose and fulfillment. And then that sets sort of the backdrop. And then the songs are coupled in eras of my life after that until the end. And then the last two tracks are kind of present day, just feeling like I can do anything. I got a team around me that enables me to enact my vision, how I see it, etc. So it starts on this very despaired note, but ends in a really triumphant place. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's it's been a lot of work. I've gone through so many phases with it where it was like I was doing a lot of the mixes on my own and they were like okay, but not anywhere near what they sound like now. And so, that's because we got Illy Baby, my friend who's doing the mix master. So they came on board. There was a point where I was just like, I am so sick of this album. I want it to be over with. And then we got to the final mixes and everything just had a whole new life breathed into it. And I kind of like fell in love with it all over again. Um, this last week I've just been grinding out promotional videos in my downtime. So I haven't really done any of the recording and writing I wanted to do, but that's okay. Priorities, Got to get this rollout going smooth. But next week I'll have more time to do that. Start working on some of the EPs that I'm cooking up and stuff like that. But yeah, I I'm really stoked about it. Now it's just kind of in other people's hands to I can do all the work I physically am able to promote this, but it's kind of in the hands of the people that I'm promoting to and the people who listen to my music to then take it and share it with other people and like stream it and add it to playlists and stuff. So it's always a little nerve-wracking at this stage of a release because you just don't really know how far the reception will carry you, and that's kind of the whole kit and caboodle of releasing an album or really any project, even singles. But my meme game is strong. It's not. But I try my best. CapCut helps. CapCut helps a lot.
If you're hearing this,
Mojun really knows what they're doing with that Futi. Like, mm, damn, that's so good. It's super mild too. The other food that I had, there was a little bit. It was just very earthy and slightly tannic in a way that I can't quite pin down. This one is just so smooth and easy to drink. I'm a big fan. I like this tea a lot. I'm glad I opened it today. What a suiting way to celebrate the release. My favorite part of food tea is how much it expands. Break off a single chunk, and then by the end of your session, the guy one's just filled with leaves all the way to the brim. Get a load of the color of that tea. It's so beautiful. Some for our pork-based friend here. But yeah, I think it's really interesting seeing my favorite part of a big release like this is seeing what people's favorite songs are. Because I always have my own hunch about it, and it never seems to be right. It's never the song that I'm like, ah, this is the one that people are gonna be gassed up on. It's always like the 2 minute long earworm pop song, or whatever. Not the super intense, swagged out flex track. But that's all of the fun. When you release something into the world, it sort of ceases to be your own. And as much as I put a lot of thought and intention into how I want people to interpret it, it's kind of ultimately now in the listener's hands to define what it means. Because yeah, people are going to listen to it, people are going to hopefully share it and spread it around, and at a certain point you just kind of you lose control of the narrative, and it's whatever people decide it means that it means. Which was a difficult thing for me to come to terms with early on when I started releasing music, um, because people just almost never actually get it, which is really funny, honestly. Or people will they'll make like stylistic comparisons that aren't even offensive or like anything like that, but I can't help but be curious at in a sense of where they draw the parallels. But of course, if you start like inquiring about that, it comes off like you're offended, and it's not worth it. You just go, oh, thank you, that's very nice, they're a great artist. It's an honor to be compared to them. But I can't deny that I'm usually pretty curious. I'm like, interesting, what about this X artist? Like, Someone said that my vocals reminded them of Patrick Stump at one point, especially back when this was back when I was in a band. And I mean, Patrick Stump is an incredible vocalist, but yeah, I don't think I sound like him. So I'm curious what that person heard that made them draw that connection, you know? That's the stuff that intrigues me. But again, like, you start inquisiting, oh really, why do you think that? And then they're like, oh, are you offended? I'm sorry. It's like, no, man. I'm just curious. Mostly because I want to leverage that information. It's like, oh, okay, so you think I sound like Patrick Stump. How can I use that to market? Ooh, wow. Wow, yeah. Definitely getting that apricot note on the second steep, like right on the finish. There's this just super bright apricot note. Yeah, that's amazing. I love Mojun. Mojun makes amazing fucha. So I don't know if you've had any before, but if you're looking to try some, Mojun is a safe bet. I feel like the first 20 minutes of the stream is just me struggling to open the foo brick when I should have just taken the whole packaging apart. But hey, we live and we learn. It's been a while since I opened a fresh brick of fucha. The nice thing about fucha is that it's really hard to oversteep. It can get a little sour, but that's about it. It won't get like overly bitter. And if you got one that's kind of fruity in the flavor notes, then the sourness doesn't really stand out that much, you know? It's a very forgiving tea. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the artist Meek Mill, but one of the tracks on the album is actually produced by the guy who produces a lot of beats for him, which was kind of a cool, you know, thing to check off my bucket list. Get a top 40s producer to do the beat for one of my tracks. He was useless, for the record. I feel like every industry person that I've ever met or interacted with has been just the most useless schmuck. They're all just like businessmen, you know what I mean? They don't have a creative bone in their body. None of them really care about making good art. They care about making good money. Well, good being relative. It's pretty wicked and messed up how they make their money, a lot of them. Like I met this Sony executive once, and bro straight up to my face told me to steal other people's music. He's like, that's how you get big. You just steal other people's music. You see a song that's kind of popping off, but like not enough that most people would know it. Steal it. Make it your own. And if you go back through like the 80s and 90s in the US, so many of like these huge stars, and especially like the one hit wonders and stuff, their debut singles are straight up stolen songs. They just steal the music from smaller artists. Um, I know this dude who owns a label, and it's pretty much nothing but like a bunch of has-beens that he signed, and then his daughter that he's basically paying to get onto tours and circuits and stuff like that. It's the worst music. But you know, that's what happens when you're rich. You can just kind of do whatever you want. It's pay to play. But I make way better music than them, and I do it. I mean, the only beat that I actually paid outright for was the J Oliver beat, and then everything else was a true collaboration. So for $300, I made an album that's better than her entire body of work. But yeah, they had what was her, Kristen Ballerini, I think is her name. They had her, and they were like, she's gonna be the next Taylor Swift, and in a way they were right, but another label scalped her from them. So it's really funny to see how the industry operates and realize that, like, yeah, I'm a forge my own way, because you know, having those kind of connections, I definitely had opportunities that I could have leveraged and been a more established artist, but I would have had to compromise so much of my own personal beliefs and identity, and just, nah, that's never gonna happen. I'd rather be penniless and authentic than rich and famous and fake. Besides, I got tea. What more could I need? I will say, the one industry person I met who's a good dude is Bob Halligan Jr. Dude wrote for like a lot of songs for Kiss. Is it Iron Maiden? Who's like, some heads are gonna roll. He wrote that. He got a lot of like platinum records and stuff. It was kind of trippy, honestly. I went to his house and we had a conversation, and we're just sitting in his basement surrounded by like all these gold and diamond records and stuff, and I'm like, yo, that's goals for real. But he was a really great guy. He gave me a lot of good advice, and he was very you know, affirming of my songwriting and whatnot. So there are good people in the industry, but by far most of them are terrible, terrible people. But he's just living in the Bob is just like, he's living in a humble home. He's a university professor, you know. You know what he does now is he does a Beatles tribute act where he does a is it Paul McCartney or John Lennon? I think it's John Lennon. He does a John Lennon impression, and it's pretty spot on. I gotta give him props. But I love that, like, bro was in the industry. He's still getting paid from the songs he wrote, and he won the game and got out, and is just kind of doing the side quests now. That's what's up. That's how you know. That's how you know he's a solid dude. Because a lot of these people, they get in the industry, they get their success, and then they go looking for more. And the only way you get beyond a certain point, you got to start exploiting people like pretty viciously. And so that's what most of them do. Because they get money hungry, they get clout hungry. But the people in the industry that I respect are the ones who, you know, they got what they wanted out of it. They have financial stability. They can, you know, enact whatever artistic projects they want to take on. And then they just bounce from the industry because, you know, why bother chasing the industry standards and complying to this just vicious corporate structure? And you could just go teach at a university and do Beatles covers. Even though I'm not really much of a Beatles fan, but I still respect the dude because he's doing what he loves, you know? Like, that's what's up. That's goals for real. So yeah, I think that's why I don't really want to necessarily pursue traditional mainstream fame. I'm just trying to build a little bit, just a little audience, some cool people who like what I'm doing and support me enough to keep doing it. We getting there day by day. I feel like this album is a big step towards that. Again, 2.0, you know? I'm yapping so much, I have no idea how long I've been steeping the tea for, but it's still delicious. It's a good thing I picked a very forgiving tea for today because I'm in a yappy mood. You came for tea, but you got a yappy meal. Oh, that dude who owns the label. He's got sons too, and at least one of them got a Grammy because he basically just stuck him in. He just stuck him in the room for a writing session with a song that got a Grammy for. I think it was like some CCM country thing. So nothing. It's not like a major Grammy or anything, but again, it just goes to show like when you have that influence, when you have that money and that sway, you just kind of stick people in rooms and they get accolades and now they're set for their career. Because like you get a Grammy, that's your pass to charge whatever you want to collaborate with you. You're like, I got a Grammy. What do you got? That's what I thought. Pay me $1,000 for this song. It just kind of attracts business because yeah, that's how the industry works. The Grammys are set up to be sort of a legitimization of artists and producers, etc. So if you get Grammys, you get business and you get to charge as much as you want for that business. So it's yeah, the industry is all about nepotism. Also, like you have to have all these meetings with the like the judges for the Grammys are like supposedly anonymous or whatnot, but that's not really true. Like all these celebrities who win Grammys have to have all these meetings and like host dinners with them and like schmooze the living fuck out of them. I've heard so many stories about just the way that go they spend so much money. They spend so much money campaigning with these people. It's just like politics, you know, the way that like lobbyists behind closed doors are just dumping money into super PACs or into different initiatives to sway and get favors from, you know, the politicians. It's the same with the music industry. And that's how the awards work, is like whoever does the most schmoozing gets the award. Which is really unfortunate. I think I think we need a people's like a meaningful people's choice award in music, because it's not a coincidence that every year, you know, the awards get doled out and people are like, the hell is this? This isn't accurate at all. You can really feel that frustration for sure, because I feel like every year people seem to care less and less about awards shows, which honestly, that's fine by me. But I think it is important to give artists their flowers. Just be cool if those flowers had purpose or meaning beyond just whoever spent the most.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
But again, that's why I think that the industry is not just needs to, but is going to shift more localized. I don't think that the music industry and really the whole Hollywood industry can sustain itself that much longer. Touring is like hemorrhages money. It's so expensive. It's such an immense time commitment. Burns the artists out. People don't want to do that, and they barely can make it profitable as it is anyway. So that's gonna die off, in my opinion. Um, People are pretty tired of monoculture, one size fits all pop media. So it feels like that's kind of dying off. I think I think what people want is something a little more material, something that they can have a more meaningful connection to. You know, you connect to celebrities because you feel like they can offer you an escape from the mundane, like the mundane experience of the average life. That at its core, you know, the mysticism around celebrities is because of their fame, because of their proximity to power. We have this sort of subconscious feeling that, oh, they could save me from my boring ass life. But what if instead, you know, we created these relationships with people who were pillars of our communities, who, like, yeah, they made dope art, but they also built a ton of housing and made groceries affordable. You know what I'm saying? Like, Taylor Swift has not done that for her community. Taylor Swift has not done anything for her community except tell people to vote for the Democrats. Which, like, neither of these parties has any interest in helping anybody. So yeah, I think that if people started, you know, giving their money to artists who had a genuine interest in improving society and improving the communities that they are a part of, we could do a lot. We could get a lot more done. I don't think we need the government to fix things. I think that we just need to start supporting people who have an interest in fixing things. Because right now, all the people that we're lifting up and putting on these pedestals are terrible people, first of all. And second of all, because they're terrible people, their only interest is making more and more and more money. Like, Taylor Swift doesn't need to make any more money. She doesn't need to tour. She definitely doesn't need to fly around in a private jet to do shows. Um, she does it because she wants to make more money, just like everyone else in the industry who's at the top of the game. Like, it's all about this very American idea of excess and never having enough. But they got enough. They got more than enough. And I don't know. I don't see how we can hoist these people up as icons when all they really ultimately represent is greed. But That's just my thoughts. I think celebrity culture is weird. Like, we don't know these people, but we goddamn near worship them. You know what I'm saying? Like, dead ass. Or like the amount of times that she's flown across the country to see her boyfriend. Like, girl, just retire. Enjoy your relationship. If you think this dude's the one, like, just retire. You don't need more money. Go be human. But I think at a certain, point of wealth, you just like you legitimately become dehumanized by it. I think that that's very much a real thing. And living in California, you can really see it. I go to the mall and there's a whole section of the mall where the stores won't even let me in. You know what I'm saying? They got security posted up outside the store. I was like, nah, you ain't rich enough to shop here. So, what was I saying? Sorry, this tea is now hitting me. I just completely lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, you see the disparity, like especially when you live in California. It's like we really do live in like a what's the double standard system, two-tiered system. It's compared to when they sold records, it's kind of complicated because back in the day, contracts. So the way that it worked back in the day was that labels developed artists. So they would invest a ton of money in, and sometimes artists would put out multiple albums before they would have a hit and like actually establish themselves in the industry. So as a result of that, they would often have to pay back immense debt, like immense debt. And so it took them a lot longer to make money, but it's also a lot easier to get ownership of your masters, which is that's your product as an artist. If you own your masters, that means that you own your own music. Nowadays, everyone offers what's called a 360 deal, and it's garbage. Like actual terrible garbage. And you only get offered those 360 deals when you're already established and you already have significant momentum as an artist. So labels aren't investing in artists to develop them, but they're offering them even worse contracts.
I love you.
And the upside, I suppose, is that you have more ways to extract profit if you're smart about it. But it's, yeah, I would say that artists have never really been earning well compared to labels, at least. Unless you achieve monumental levels of success, you're not gonna really make money as a major label artist. But as an indie artist, it's a lot easier because you own all your masters. Um, but anyway, a 360 deal is basically they pay for the production of your album, the distribution of it, and promotion, etc. And they give you this big loan up front to cover all that. And then you have to pay it back through album sales. And so they take a cut of every sale, every stream, etc. And you're not allowed to pay it back with your own cash. It has to be through these transactions and these sales, which gets artists locked into this just perpetual cycle of releasing more music to try to pay back and et cetera, because it's set up in a way that unless you achieve monumental success, you're not going to pay off the loan. I've met lots of people over my career, people who were mentors, people who I just worked with in the studio, etc., who they signed a 360 deal back in the day and they're still paying it off. Like dudes who are like 50 years old, still touring, trying to pay off their 360 deal. You know what I'm saying? It's rough. So honestly, like the only real way to make money as a musician is to stay indie and build your own platform. Which again, like Taylor Swift, use her as an example again in a positive way this time. She was right back in the day when she pulled her music from Spotify and when she re-recorded everything to own her masters. She was spot on because owning your own music that's it. That's the whole game. That and, you know, getting attention. If you have attention and you own your masters, you're set. But attention is expensive. And also, people are kind of funny where they won't really care about something unless they think other people care about it, because we desperately we want to be part of something, right? We want to be included. We want to be part of the movement. And so unless there's at least a perception that an artist already has motion, people tend to just brush them off. Now, a way to, you know, manufacture that is you dump money into marketing. You put it in everyone's face until they're so used to seeing it, they just kind of assume that you're already famous. And in a way, you are already famous because everyone's seeing your stuff. But yeah, that's why botting is so big too, and that's why major artists also bought their, excuse me, got some burps. But that's why major artists, they also bought their playlists and their music, is because the perception of success and the perception of popularity is far more important than the reality, because perception is reality. If people think your music is popping off, they're going to engage in your music. They want to be part of the wave, you know. If they don't think you got that motion, they're going to blow it off. And it doesn't really matter what the quality of it is. It's all about who's got the attention. People, generally speaking, that's how they assess the value of things, is like, oh, everyone's paying attention to this. This is the thing. This is what everyone's into. This is the hot new wave. But you're going to always be chasing trends if you approach things that way. What you really got to do if you want to be a trendsetter, or at least ahead of the trend, is one, you just got to kind of study trends and learn the patterns. But also you got to look into the stuff that no one's talking about, and think about, you know, how is this growing? Is it kind of just staying niche, or is it expanding into other niches? Because that's usually a good sign. Like shoegaze was purely like basically indie rock for a long time. Now there's a lot of overlap between shoegaze and electronic music, you know, hip hop or different noise genres of electronica. And that's a good indicator that the genre is growing and that people are interested in it, because they're experimenting and they're expanding the boundaries of it. And that's why I think that shoegaze is going to be the next thing. That, and the fact that like Zoomers and Alpha are really into shoegaze. So you kind of look at what young people are into. You look at the ways that those interests are expanding, and you make your calculations based on that. But the ultimate way, if you really want to be a trendsetter, is that you just kind of do your own thing, because everything is cyclical. And if you stick with something for long enough, it'll come back around and be popular again. So just kind of find your lane, find what speaks to you, and do it until your moment comes. Consistency also helps in building an audience, you know. If people see you're putting out steadily, they're going to start to slowly trickle in, and then that trickle turns into a stream, and that stream turns into a flood. I mean, for comparison, I've been doing Sweetapple for, I think, like 3 years now, maybe, not that long. And in that 3 years, I've already surpassed the metrics that my band had, because of the lessons I learned from being in that band. And it took me like 8 years to get that band to that point. So you learn the tricks, you learn how to be consistent, what kind of consistency people are looking for, and how to read trends. You can build decent following. Oh, did I turn this off? Weird. But yeah, it's interesting. I think we've kind of reached peak profitability of commodifying music. So I think what we're gonna see is more movements that try to decommodify art. Because, yeah, art should be for everyone. And I don't think that making it solely for the purpose of profit is sustainable. Because, the core reason that people make art is expression, whether it's joy, whether it's just being goofy and creative. People engage in art because they have something that they want to express. And generally, greed is not a default human emotion, at least not in my opinion. I believe it's something that we've been conditioned into. Because historically, if you look through, biological records, and if you compare to other species that are similar to us, we're a pretty collaborative species, and that collaboration and that community centric approach to life is what got humanity to where it is today. All of our biggest successes are the result of humans working with other humans because they found something to be novel, or because they simply just thought that this would be worthwhile, even if it wasn't profitable, even if it wasn't, financially sensible. They said, well, humanity needs this and we can do it. Let's do it. And I think that returning to a more community centric philosophy as a society starts with art. And I think we can kind of heal from that out, if that makes sense. And that's part of, again, looking at history and looking at trends. Great, like, periods where art was thriving and there was great artistic freedom and expression, like the Renaissance, etc., almost always precede eras of great prosperity. And I don't think that that's just a coincidence. I think that artists are sort of lightning rods where we kind of we look at what's going on in society and the ideas that people talk about and their fears and their worries and their hopes, and we sort of synthesize that into something that's easy to digest and easy to gather around and point to and say, this is what we want, this is the goal, this is the passion, this is the dream, etc. And when you have a lot of artists doing that, that means that you have a lot of people coming together over their ideas. And when the artists start collaborating, those groups of people then collaborate as well and share their ideas and blend them, and so on and so forth. And it perpetuates this cycle of ideological diffusion, of community building, of hope giving. And I think that that's why you notice this trend of, periods of Renaissance preceding periods of prosperity. And I think it starts with what I was talking about earlier about localizing art and supporting artists who have an interest in building back into their communities. And I think things are slowly moving that way, but it's going to take a lot of work and grit and patience. But I think we'll get there. I do. And as interconnected as the world is, it's going to be one hell of a renaissance when it hits. Like, for real. I can't wait. It's going to be mind-blowing. And, a great example, actually, in my opinion, of how the industry doesn't really get the function of art is Skibbity Toilet, believe it or not. Because I don't know if you heard, but Michael Bay is making a movie and a TV series based on Skibbity Toilet.
I love you.
And I think Skibbity Toilet's dope, honestly. But I think to adapt it into a traditional media format is to miss the function and point of the format it exists in. The reason that Skibbity Toilet exists is because of the unbound nature of the internet, where you can make content with just about any message, any ideological framing, and there's absolutely no rules whatsoever on format. Sure, there's, things that have been standardized as effective formats on YouTube, but there's also an endless hunger for new formats, and that's where Skibbity Toilet comes in. You know, it the first few you see as just kind of this like weird, absurdist meme, but the creator seized on that opportunity, or maybe this was their plan all along. You know, maybe they had a master plan, but they took that opportunity and they established a new format for storytelling, something that no one else has done before. And that's what makes Skibbity Toilet amazing, is that there is a story to it. There is philosophy within it. And Alpha is picking up on that. Alpha recognizes those themes, and they're internalizing that, and that's what keeps them latched onto it. That's why when you look at it and you see nonsense, almost a year, maybe 2 years after it first came out. I can't remember how long it's been, but at least a year. It's still dominating YouTube. It got bought by Michael Bay. You know what I'm saying? They're merchandising it. They did a collab with Roblox and Minecraft because Alpha sees the themes. They see the value of communicating through that format. Whereas Michael Bay says, "Oh, this needs to be a movie. That's what's going to make it legit." But it's already legit. The old heads in the industry just don't get the way that art is evolving or its function. They only see business. They only see profit and monetization. So, yeah.
If you're hearing this, I love you.
I think it's safe to say that this TS is a pretty solid cheat because I'm a rambling man today. Yeah, to that point of what I was saying earlier is why I think collectives are an important part of the way forward,
I love
and that's part of the focus of my collective. Is we're we're working on creating infrastructure for mutual aid and support for each other. Um, in August, we're actually going to be doing a fundraiser for somebody who's receiving an emergency surgery, to support them because they're a musician and they're part of our community. And we're looking to get into the habit of doing a monthly fundraiser because, yeah, that's the whole point. I believe is that artists, the role of an artist is to be a community builder. They're supposed to be the lightning rod for people to gather around, for people to look out for each other, to care about one another, to dream of a better future. And that's kind of the thesis of our whole collective, is we take care of each other so that we can take care of our community and our listeners and the people who support us financially and etc. And the various ways that you can support artists. And I just think that that's a really important thing to, you know, operate out of a ideology of compassion and of helping one another, because so much of our society has been commodified to the point of discouraging mutual aid, discouraging community and compassion. You know, we see people struggling as some sort of moral failing instead of just somebody going through a hard time, somebody needing help. We see that as an inconvenience to us rather than an opportunity to function as a community. And I really do believe that that is rooted in capitalism, to be frank. I think that it's commodified every aspect of our lives. Like, you can't even just chill. And that's why I love the holiday you're celebrating, Niepi, because I think it's important to unplug. I think that when you're plugged in, there's not a moment of your time that you have to yourself. You're constantly being advertised to, you're constantly being manipulated in some fashion to try to make you more profitable. And I think that we need to fight for free community. You know, we don't have third places anymore. And that's an essential thing. Now, all of our third places have been commodified. You have to pay to get into them. And that creates systemic issues because not everyone can afford that. And generally, the people who can't are those in more marginalized communities, you know, more specifically in the US, people of color. So we've created a system that, while legally speaking, we are desegregated, functionally we're still segregated along the terms of color because of economic inequality that persists. And these are the kind of changes that artists can create in society. You know, artists have the capacity to create third places. They have the capacity to build communities. They have the capacity to create movements of mutual aid. And I think that it's really important that artists kind of lock in and start building communities that focus on those things. Because what does any of the top 40s artists actually contribute to society besides bland music to pacify yourself with? The answer is nothing, but I think that it's important to think about, you know, we have all these parasocial relationships, but what do we actually get out of it besides pacification of our loneliness? And why are we lonely? Well, it's because we lack community. Why do we lack community? Because we don't have third places to build community, because our social lives have been commodified through digital media like Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, etc. And it's been monetized. The way we interact with each other has been turned into a profit scheme. And I think that that's deeply damaging to us as human beings. I think that we need more community. And I guess that's kind of just my mission in life at this point, is to build community. Maybe it won't be the biggest, but maybe I give a handful of people what they've been needing, you know, community, that connection to other people, that sense of being a part of something meaningful and having support when times are really rough. Because those are things that are sorely lacking, and I think that society as a whole is worse off for it. Like, just the way that people inherently react with disgust to the homeless. Like, these are just people who are having a tough time. Like, I can almost assure you that, you know, if we were to look at how they got here, a lot of it is probably not entirely their fault. They probably just needed help along the way and never got it. Funny enough, it's the Kamala Harris quote. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree? No, you exist in the context of who you are and what came before you. You know, it's literally dialectical materialism, that people end up where they are in life because of the conditions systemically, and sometimes just the bad luck. that leads them to where they are. You know, I know people who are former drug dealers and they didn't get in, and as a result of that, you know, they became addicted to heroin because if you're selling heroin, people aren't going to buy heroin from a dude who doesn't do heroin. They're going to assume you're a fed if that's the case. So you start doing heroin. And I don't know if you know this, but that stuff's addictive, like really addictive, obviously. And so you end up standing on the street corner every day, doped out of your mind, and selling drugs, and then you get locked up because you get busted. So now you have a criminal record. So now it's a lot harder for you to go straight because places don't want to hire an ex-felon. So you end up homeless. And what do you do when you're homeless, suffering through abject misery and withdrawals? You do whatever the hell you can to get more heroin. And you fall deeper and deeper into the cycle of addiction and slowly destroy yourself until you're on the street corners, on the sidewalk, living in a tent or whatever, and people look at you with disgust. All because you were just trying to get by, you know? And sure, it's wrong to sell drugs, but sometimes people, you know, end up in desperate situations and they'll do anything to get out of it. And we like to act like crimes are a uniquely poor people thing, but and in a sense that is true. You know, Marcus Aurelius said that poverty is the mother of all crime. And there's definitely truth to that, but our perception of crime is kind of warped because when rich people do this stuff, one, they get away with it, but two, they get praised for being savvy businessmen, you know. That when they steal from their employees to make themselves wealthier, to then open another business which makes themselves wealthier where they can steal from more employees. When Coca-Cola hires death squads, or the Chiquita Banana Company is built on the colonization of Colombia by the USA for tax-free imports, you know, like we consider these people to be savvy businessmen instead of demonstrable monsters. And wealth has a powerful impact on that perception because these are horrible acts. And when we see people in desperate poverty doing it, we judge them. But when a wealthy person does it for no reason other than to become more wealthy, they receive praise and accolades for it. They receive more wealth, they receive more influence in society. And I think that's kind of the core issue. Damn, I be on my Marxist tip today. I don't know why. I can't really explain it. But something about tea kind of feels inherently Marxist to me. I guess I had a lot to say today. I've been yapping for real. I also stand workers' co ops. I think it's a great way to improve business models without completely overhauling our economic system. Just profit share with employees. Everyone's a part owner. And That gives people the collective power to be like, so and so's not pulling their weight and making life harder on all of us. They're gone. Let's get someone in here who's deserving of that profit share. And it becomes a much more democratic process where you don't need some CEO sitting in an office all day doing nothing to justify your job existing. You just kind of, as a collective, again, collectives are the way forward, I think. Small business and collectives. You, as a collective, start your own co-op, and you work for each other. You work for yourselves. You own your own labor. Yeah, if Sweetapple ever becomes like a large successful business, it's definitely going to be a co-op, because people deserve to own their own labor. They deserve to have a say in what's done with the profits they generate. And I think my camera just died. Lol. Let me see. Yeah, it sure did. Alright, one sec. We gonna webcam it. And then probably wrap up in a bit. Alright, actually, we're gonna switch to ending soon. Well, that's really funny. I was hoping I would finish this cup of tea before that happened, but it's all good. I really need to get the little adapter so I can just plug it into my camera into the wall and not have it die on me. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Sammy. Listening to me rant and ramble. I hope you enjoyed tea time, and I hope you have a blessed day. I'll catch you next time. All right, see ya.
The number you have dialed is not available at present. Please leave your message after the beep.
If you're hearing this, I love you.